NSR Media. For everyone.
And now, Out of the Park presents crazy stories from around the world that are crazy. Here's Matt and Barry.
Well, Matt, this week, my crazy news story from around the world that is crazy comes from China, where a woman was stripped naked in the street by a gang of middle-aged women after she was accused of sleeping with one of their husbands. This happened in China. The suspect, who was quote-unquote a homewrecker, was slapped and kicked on the ground in a crowded public area, and the group of women showed her absolutely no mercy. The husband of one of the gang is believed to have been the mistress's lover, and the wife decided to teach that young lady a lesson after catching her red-handed. Now, throughout the violent incident, a few passers-by came by and tried to stop these very, very, what would you call them? Forceful women?
Assertive.
Yes, but the helpless mistress still was getting her hair tugged by the group of friends. By the end, her clothes were almost completely ripped off, and I bet she will never be messing with that husband again. And how funny is it that this story is brought to our attention just after our most recent episode where we looked at the art of cheating?
I think that there's some parts of this that sound sort of hot.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. So the idea of a gang of women
stripping another
woman and kicking her and pulling her hair and doing all that excites you.
I wasn't thinking about the stripping and the pulling of hair and all that stuff. Well, sorry, the violence. It was more of the removal of the clothing that was a little bit.
I see.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm not.
So if
sure
you are a husband out there who's thinking of cheating on your spouse,
yes,
think again.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing.
Well, actually, nothing happened to the guy.
No.
That we know of yet.
Yes.
So really,
there could be a follow-up story.
Well, yeah. So as of now, the warning doesn't necessarily go out to the dude that was cheating.
Right.
This goes out to the mistresses. So mistresses out there, or misters, however the case may be careful.
Why don't you just have relations with the person that you married? Do you know what I'm saying? I never understood the whole concept of cheating. Look, it takes so much more work to avoid being caught cheating. Why don't you just go to your wife and say, look, I would really like you to dress up like a purple dinosaur and then we can get busy. That takes a lot less effort.
Whoa. This is something you and Mrs. Producer do?
No, it just popped off the top of my head. Whoa. All right. But the point being is that I have friends that are currently unfaithful to their wives.
And this is so much harder to do now than it was 20 years
ridiculous.
ago. Because everywhere you go, somebody's got their phone out, videotaping or recording or doing whatever.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys are like, I just can't go to my wife and tell her I want this. I'm like, well, why?
Yeah.
Just go to your wife and say, look, this is what I would like to do. If you're uncomfortable, great. Let's work within some parameters that will appease you and appease me. Go to your wife. You know?
You know, these days, because of social media, I would imagine the private detective business is probably all but washed up.
It is. I have no concept of...
We have to get a private detective on one day.
Okay.
See how the business has been affected by social media.
I bet you it's brisk, to tell you the
truth. You think?
Yeah, because of how much more people are connected, I bet you any money it's brisk. Anyway, okay, so we could go off for hours on that. So mine is, the title of it is, Man Lucky to Survive After Shooting Himself in the Heart with a Nail Gun.
Go on.
Okay.
You've got my attention.
So, quote, a man drove himself to the hospital after accidentally shooting a nail into his heart. He was lucky to survive, doctors say. Oh, yeah. Doug Burgesson was framing a fireplace when his nail gun fired, sending a nail ricocheting off wood and into his chest at the speed of a .22 caliber bullet. The 52-year-old from Prestego, Wisconsin, said that he could only see an inch of the 3.5-inch nail sticking out of his chest, and common sense told him not to pull it out. Good job, Doug.
Would common sense not tell him that he could have used a hammer?
You know what? For me, it feels like this guy was a contractor. And professionally, it's probably faster to be using a nail gun.
Obviously not as safe. Worst
No.
thing that's going to happen with the hammer
No.
is you're going to hit your thumb.
And say bad words and say monkey nuggets. Okay. The 52-year-old I could see the nail moving within my heartbeat. It was kind of twitching with every movement. That's not good. He was frustrated because he knew he wasn't going to get home until late and he couldn't get anything done. So he was concerned about the work. Okay. After driving to the hospital 10 minutes away, Mr. Burgesson started to feel more pain and needed the help of security to make it inside. X-rays showed that the nail was a 1/16 of an inch, about the thickness of a piece of paper, from a major artery. This guy dodged a bullet.
A nail.
Or a nail.
Yes.
Right? A wrong heartbeat, wrong position, and he would have had a much more complicated problem than he was bargaining for, Dr. Alexander Rothstein said. He's quite fortunate from that standpoint. Mr. Burgesson spent just 2 days in the hospital and has been recovering at home since the accident on the 25th of June. He says he feels pretty good, and I'm back to doing things carefully. Quote, it was a pretty awakening experience.
So the lesson to be learned in all of this is be careful who you hire to do work in your house.
Yes. Have you ever used a nail gun?
God, no.
Okay, so I used to be involved in landscaping and contracting. Okay,
I don't even use a staple gun.
Wow. Okay, the interesting thing about a nail gun is in order for the nail to fire, you actually have to physically press the gun against a surface, and it has this little pressure plate. That pressure plate has to basically pop up. So imagine taking like something and pushing it against your desk. That pressure plate would basically push up towards the gun, and then it will allow the trigger to fire. So either he's messed with the pressure plate on this, or there's something weird going on, because theoretically you should not be able to have this happen. I wonder if he's done some sort of gun modifications that lets him fire the gun off.
I think that we need to have some nail gun control rules set in this country.
So you're talking about like the opposite of the NRA?
Yes.
In Canada.
Now, are the nail guns, are those the things that the roofers use all the time when you hear them going pop, 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 pop on the roof? Yeah.
Sound. Yeah. So what that is the reason why they use it is it allows you to basically triple your productivity. Now, there was a time in Canada where the nail gun for the roofer stuff was banned, because what was happening is people, if you set the pressure too high, it was blasting the nails right through the shingles, and it was basically doing a defective job. So for a time, they actually banned the use of them.
Could you just imagine if that group of women in China all had nail guns in their hand?
This is called circling back. Yes. Can you imagine? Then the story would not have been as appealing to me.
No, I guess not.
No.